welcome to the last spotlight section of this amazing virtual conference. Let's get started with coding and analyzing your data with AI Assist. You might have spotted throughout the conference that maybe some speakers now and then refer to it. You may also have attended the great session by Stefan Redeker, one of the lead developers behind it, who has a more like a methodological approach to it. Today, we will focus on what are the functions, what can we do with it, and especially on what's new. So that you see what this actually means if you use the software, and that you get an idea what it can do. Although this is a hands-on session, at least a few words about what is AI Assist, just that you know it. AI Assist is an add-on to MaxQDA. So MaxQDA, I'm sure you know by now at the end of the conference. And there is an add-on that you can activate or opt in for, that is the AI Assist. You can opt in for the AI Assist free, then you don't have to pay anything extra except for the license. And there's also a pro model. The only difference is with the free version, it sometimes tells you, hey, you have used this too much today, please come back tomorrow. There's a certain limitation on how many tokens can be processed per day. And if you get a pro version, then there is no limitation. But just that you know, it's an add-on. You're not forced to do it. You have to deliberately sign up for it, create a MaxQDA account, and use it. As an add-on, it integrates a large language model into MaxQDA 24. You have certainly heard of large language models before. I mean, AI has gone through the media, through the roof in, I would say, roughly the last year. These are large language models that are, at least for our purpose, used to generate text based on training data sets and a prompt. So you might say something like, hey, AI Assist, write for me a poem about matches, and then you write something, and then it comes up with a poem more or less poetical about matches. What's special about AI Assist is that it uses, it is set to use quite deterministic models. That means it's not trying to be unique with every answer, but it tries to get a stable answer every time you use it. So for example, if you and I recreate the same summary of the same text, it will be very similar to almost identical. It's not trying like a chat bot to come up with a new answer if you ask 5 times, every time with a new answer. This is just good to know. That means there is far less hallucination. Actually, I have not spotted any serious case of hallucination so far. I've used AI Assist extensively. The only thing that I noticed so far was that it sometimes mixed up some people when I summarized coding, where I was like, wait, that was this person, not that person. But it was not somehow founded in my data. It didn't tell me any strange things. And I even tried to fool AI Assist into getting out silly things out there, and it always told me like, there is nothing about dragons in this interview, don't mess with me. And I was like, okay, you caught me, I tried to test you. And when we now look at the functionalities of AI Assist, I classify them into roughly 4 types of functionalities. The first one are functionalities to summarize data, to reduce its complexity. So you can create summaries, for example, of documents or of codes and their coded segments. You can also create summaries, or we have seen, for example, in a session I did earlier today, we can paraphrase using AI Assist. We can create segment comments. We can summarize all kinds of data. I will show you an example a little bit later. We can use AI Assist to generate new ideas. My example with the poem about matches. In our case, we don't want the poem, but we maybe want new ideas for codes, for subcodes, or explanations. If you use a third type I see is chatting with a document or code. So we have a chat-based interaction, or chat-based, I wouldn't even call it interaction because I don't like humanifying or anthropomorphizing AI too much, but it's an prompt-based analysis, I would say. Where you enter prompts to interact or to analyze a document or code. And the last one, and that's the one I'm going to start with for today, is that you can use AI to code data. and in our case, to code single documents. Yeah, Matthew already wrote in the chat, I've used AI Assist quite a lot and have also seen no cases of hallucination. Yeah. And sometimes it misses something, yeah. But yeah, I've not seen anything where it was like completely off the charts. And I used ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or something quite a bit. And often I got some very strange responses. I haven't seen that with AI Assist so far. The new kid around the block, as I like to call it, is AI coding. That's the very latest feature. I think it was released, 2 weeks ago, roughly. I think 28th or 29th of August. So if you have not checked out AI Assist for 2 weeks, this should be new to you. If you have checked it out within the 2 weeks, maybe you already know this one. So up to today, I have seen, up to the release of this feature, I have not seen any AI tool that does serious coding in the sense of where I say, hey, this is actually useful in my research process. Because if it just generates tons of weird codes, that's not necessarily very helpful. But with AI coding, I will show you it's a rather small way to implement it. But just 2 days ago, I sent a screenshot to the developer, to one of the developers, and I said, wow, I'm impressed again that it managed to do that. Maybe I'll tell you later a little bit what that was, but I was really impressed. Let's first look at what it does, and then you can understand better why I was impressed. So what you can do with AI coding at the moment is we can only use it on one document using one already existing code. And for this code, we provide a definition. That's what we can do. We can provide a definition and then say, hey, AI, please, I say always say please, never want to upset our AI overloads. But I say, please, AI, code this data in regards to this code that I have defined. And I will immediately show you this in the software. And here is the software. And what I do here is what I also strongly recommend to you if you try out these AI features, try it on data that you know inside and out. I used AI to summarize articles I have written. I use chat with a PDF on articles that I have co-published, because then I can check back if the AI actually does something smart or if it just tries to fool me. Here I have 4 interviews with 4 real people. These 4 people I know, I don't remember their real names anymore, but I know these interviews inside out, and especially the one that I always like to use for training purposes. I now show you what coding can do. You see these documents are already coded because I coded them, but I want to code them again using AI. What we can do here is I can say I want to right click on Verbal. This is my interview, an interview with one person, one woman who's a freelancer. And I say AI Assist, I would like to AI code this one document. Let's have a look. Now it says you want to code Verbal, is that right? Yeah. And then I pick a code that I already have. It doesn't come up with its own codes. You have to give it the code. And I will pick here the code health. And then we see here the code memo that I have written, and I try to define what health means to me, or what I want to be coded. Here I say the code health describes how self-employment impacts the physical and mental well-beings of the interviewees. It's already narrowing it down a little bit. This includes the effect of the situation on an individual's physical, mental, and social well-being, and a little bit more. So here you need to give a description of what this code should contain. Similar to a coding guideline that you would use for sort of deductive coding with a coworker. Now I hit OK. And what happens now? But this runs a little bit, just that you know what's the technical thing that's happening in the background. The MAXDAYS takes the entire document, just this one document, but it's the entire document, uploads it to the server where the large language model is hosted. The large language model does its magic, or its AI with it, and gives us back a result that is then presented by MAXDAYS. So that's what's happening. Not your entire data is not sent anywhere. Just you have, if you want to code this entire document, you have to give the AI thingy access to the entire document. The good thing about data protection here is that this is so far the most data secure and sensitive AI implementation I have seen. I always joke it's made by Germans, and Germans are, I think, the persons on this earth that are most crazy about data protection. So what happens is the servers are based in the EU. The data is not saved on the servers where a large language model is. It's not used for training purposes. All data is deleted within a very short time frame. So it's a quite secure way, and it's even GDPR compliant. So it's compliant with the strict data protection regulations of the EU. The best we have so far. Still, it's not staying on your computer. That's just not possible if you want to use AI, at least not in this way. Now, while I filled this with talking about data protection, 11 segments have been coded. That was fast. This interview, by the way, is a 1-hour interview, has about 25 pages. Yeah, Adrian already posted you the link about data protection if you want to read up on that. 11 segments. To read a 1-hour interview and code it, I would have taken more than 5 minutes. But let's hit OK and see what happens. First of all, you might notice that there is a new code. So the AI did not directly use my code health, but it created a subcode that's called AI health interview verbal. Why does it do that? Because this gives me the chance to review the coding before integrating it into my already existing coding. This is the main point of it. It also has some technical reasons why this is just easier to handle, but this is the main reason that I say, hey, you should check that this is your AI assistant, you are the boss. So let's have a look. And I will do it now this way. I will activate health and AI health, these two codes, and I will only display them in my code, in my data document browser, so that we can see, okay, here I defined this statement as health. The AI didn't. Well, Burble talks here about she's getting bored easily and how she manages her calendar, and yeah, I for me this was within my scope of health, because I was also wondering about how they spend their free time. I didn't find it, but here we see an AI code. This segment, then there's another segment, and then there's another segment. So there are 3 segments here that the AI has recognized, and I made 1 segment here. So you see that the segments are overlapping by 2/3 roughly. For example, I left out what the interviewer, what I said, because I'm not interested in coding that. So yeah, but of course this statement is about health. It's just by me and not by the interviewee. So the AI assigned these codes. And the thing that I really like here is that in the segment comments, if you've been to my previous sessions, you know what a segment comment is. In the segment comment here, there is the reasoning why this is coded the way it is. And that helps at least me to evaluate, why did I get this result? And what could be the argument that this is coded that way? Here, for example, it says, this segment directly addresses how self-employment impacts verbal physical health. I ask, how is your social mental physical health doing? And she says, yeah, it's obvious. And then we see here later statements that I did not code, but that the AI coded. And the AI here gives reasoning. This segment discusses the stress and workload associated with self-employment. And this you could argue stress would be related somehow to, well, health. Here, the next segment directly relates how the interviewer makes decisions to protect their health. I didn't code it, but the AI did. So this is what this feature does. When you are done with it, you can, for example, open up your codes here, go through them, and then move them to your main codes if you like to. Let's, for example, move this here. And then I say, this one is also correct. I move this here. Or you could even say, you merge the entire code here into the existing code when you say, hey, I think all of these are fantastic. I want to have them as part of my regular code system. I will now keep them apart for a second, just to show you. This is one document, one code, but nothing stops you from doing it a second time with another document. So I now take the document with Alex here, AI assist, AI coding. I use the same code definition here, the same one that I used for Burble, hit OK, and then it will code the interview with Alex. Again, a 20 to 30 pages interview, 1 hour long, transcript, 1 hour long. And we will then get the second code that's for Alex. I can review that separately. So we'll see in a second that the second one comes up. This is the newest thing that we have. And I think it follows very strongly the logic of a more deductive approach, a concept-driven approach, typically found in qualitative content analysis or in some branches of thematic analysis too, where you say, hey, I have an existing scheme of codes, coding scheme, and I want to apply that. And you can do it fairly quickly. And now I can say Alex and Burble, if I want to, I can merge them again. This is just a regular code, these AI codes. I can rename them. I can also change the color. This is just highlighted in a way that I remember this was AI made. Then I can here revisit the segments of Alex. And when I first did a webinar like this, where I presented this AI coding feature, I said, but this is just for very thematic codes, for things like health or gender, for things where they are topic-based. Since then, I had to change my mind because I tried it with some really interpretative codes, and I was also quite astonished. For example, I had a code in one of the sessions, self-limiting beliefs, and the AI found quite a lot of well-argued self-limiting beliefs within the interview. I was like, wow. If you, for example, say, I would love to do that, but I'm just not the right person for this job, might be a self-limiting belief, for example. And the latest thing that I've done with it is I had a focus group discussion, basically. Various people were talking. And I said, hey, I want to see where after a child, an adult talks. So when a child, after a contribution by the child, an adult continues talking. And I defined that as speaker change from a child to an adult definition. And the AI it missed a few instances, but it showed an astonishingly good quality in identifying and describing these segments. This is just AI coding. I will show you a few things more just that you get a sense of the scope. I have already shown today, but I'll show it again, that you can, of course, summarize data. For example, you can summarize a document. Here with Burble, I can say, AI assist, I would like to summarize the entire document, 1 hour interview. My documents are in English. I can also summarize them in German or in French or in Russian, if I like to, for our friends. I remember someone is from Moscow. Can try it with Russian. I would totally be curious how well it works. I could go with German. I stick with English because this is what you can evaluate, at least all of you. I can adjust the length here. So it sort of automatically changes it to a different language if you want to, which is very useful in lowering the language barrier with complicated texts. I hit OK, and then it will give me a summary of this entire document. This is something that you, of course, could also copy and paste somewhere, like in ChatGPT or so, but it's already very well implemented. You see it's here, part of the document memo. Burble, a 40-year-old trainer for writing therapy, struggles with this and that. But it gets even more interesting if you want to summarize a code. So you remember I coded Alex, what Alex says about health. Now I have 7 coded segments. Well, the AI could give me a summary of these coded segments. So I can right-click on AI health and say, you know what, give me a summary for that. English short, because I don't have much time to read. So I will get now, based on the coding and then the summary, a summary of what Alex said about health. for example. Here, self-employment provides Alex with greater flexibility and control over their workload, which is beneficial for managing their mental health challenges like post-traumatic stress disorder. I know that this is true because Alex told me that. So, or you could also, if you like, to take all the health codes and then summarize all the health codes with including the subcodes, for example. Or you could limit this to only activated documents. Very flexible, well integrated into what MAXDAYS is already doing. Then I will show you my, after AI coding, my second favorite feature. And it is the suggest codes. And I will also show you how it ties in again with the auto coding. Let's see, I'll just pick some random segment from the interview. Okay, let's see, somewhere I ask a question. Okay, do you see any here, that's an interesting section. Do you see any challenges or opportunities specific to women in this type of work, in freelancing? And she says then, the opportunities are good things, it's family compatible, you can always stay at home, and so on and so on. And yeah, you don't have, yeah. Then let's stick with the positive things for now. Let's take a little bit more. Let's take that. And I want to now code this. I am looking for a good code that I want to use. This is now the inductive way, the text-driven way. So I can right-click, AI Assist, suggest new codes for the selected text. I click on this, and then the AI will give me suggestions on how I could code this statement. It will not code the entire data. I think that it would be a logical next step, but it will give me suggestions for this segment. What challenges do you see? And she mentions, yeah, it's flexible, but what is her negative points? You don't have a traditional career path. So here we see this. It's not perfectly formatted for some strange reason. So what we see here is a thematic codes. It suggests not one code, not two, but 3 types of codes. The thematic codes that are very descriptive, then alternative ones that are a bit more general, and interpretative one, and especially the interpretative codes. They are like, yeah, have a more deeper interpretation. So let's have a look. Here she says, this could be about work-life balance, about career progression, about continuous learning, about outsourcing, or a thematic code that's actually a code that I, in a quite similar way, created, autonomy versus structure. Or this could be about emotional labor. So we see here, we get here various suggestions, and we can here click on these suggestions to pick what codes do we actually wish to apply. And we see here an explanation what this means. You know what? I would actually like to take the code emotional labor. Self-motivation is also good. The emotional and psychological challenges associated with the lack of a defined career path in self-employment. I hit OK, and it will now, you see here, immediately create, I turn this off so you can see it, create these codes for me. It just assigns it to this specific segment. And yeah, I already spot interesting things in the chat, but I will finish this and then we get into chatting because I just have 5 minutes left. So we see here these codes. And for example, the code emotional labor, I identified it here in a statement by Verbal. I could now move over to Alina, different interview, and say, you know what, I want to AI code this with the code emotional labor that was suggested by an AI, taking this description if I want to. It's not a good description. You should not use it this bluntly, but just to show you the general idea you could follow or process that you could follow. Let's see what it finds about emotional labor in a totally different interview. I just know that Yeah, Alina, does she have children? No, I'm curious. Let's see what she's saying. I'll have a quick look at the chat while this is running. Yeah, records will be available for about 2 months. Yeah, recording will be available. Recording will be available. Dear all, oh, thank you so much, Gebremlak Gede from Ethiopia. It's great to hear that you have attended lots of my webinars. Just as a disclaimer here, these kinds of webinars, I hold about 3 webinars per month via Verbi for free. You can join in. So if you like the webinars that I'm doing, just check in every now and then. It's for free. Maybe Adrian, you can check on the MaxQDA website, free webinars. You can just post a link to the free webinars, which is sort of the free continuation of MaxDAYS, if you want to, in general, not only my webinars. Okay, it found 3 segments. And here it says emotional labor. This segment illustrates the emotional labor invested in transitioning from a stable career to self-employment. Alina describes the challenges of building external networks and the optimism mixed with the uncertainty about how quickly she could establish a business. Okay, let's see what our definition was of emotional labor. It was the emotional and psychological challenges with becoming self-employed. Well, that definitely fits. So a very interesting tool, very interesting add-on. There are so many more things that you can do, but the basic things that we have also seen now. Oh, one more thing I show you, because then we have covered all 4 types. We saw chatting already. Now I spoiled it. We already saw summarizing. I can summarize a document. I can summarize a code. We already saw the automatic coding working. We also saw the AI suggested us what codes we could use, inspiring us for our research. And you could also, and that I didn't show yet, you can chat with documents or codes. And I will show you my favorite prompt. Let's say here that let's take here the code gender. And here's the AI assist. I would like to chat with this code segments. So what happens here is it takes the 14 segments and it will then take these 14 segments as a knowledge basis, and I can basically ask questions or trigger prompts based on these 14 segments and the code gender. And what you often do when you code data is that at some point, you want to write a chapter for your main codes. You maybe want to write a chapter about freelancing and gender. And I can tell the AI that I want to do that. I want to write a chapter about freelancing and gender based on these segments. And now comes the thing, please always be polite. Please provide a table of contents for such a chapter, starting with an introduction and ending with a conclusion. No, it doesn't write a chapter for us, but it can give us a table of content using these segments. And in the meantime, I will show the link that I wanted you to. I know that it's not far away. Webinar MaxQDA. While this is happening, yeah, what I wanted to do. Okay, it's already here. Yes, I accept all cookies if they are sweet or not. Yeah, very brief interruption. What I wanted to point your attention to, this is what the kind person from the chat referred to. Here you can go on the MaxQDA website, free webinar and community events. And here you find free sessions on all kinds of topics throughout the year. There are dozens of sessions every month, and at least about 3 per session, 3 per month are by me, if you want to continue learning after MaxDAYS. Just that little disclaimer. Let's see what the AI chat said. You could use here the table of contents, introduction, highlight the key themes, briefly summarize what will be discussed. So then it says here, first chapter could be, or subchapter could be, challenges of freelancing for women, discuss the social and cultural barriers that women face. And the nice thing is it here offers me with 1 and 11, immediately one-click links to the segments from my data. It says here, opportunities. I mean, that wouldn't be such a bad structure for a chapter on gender, challenges for women, opportunities and advantages, and then overcoming gender biases in freelancing. This would be my 3 main subchapters. And what statements actually help me with overcoming gender biases in freelancing? Here, this one discusses the importance of self-confidence and self-promotion and one's worth as a freelancer. Here's segment 7. Self-motivation is a huge thing. How much money am I worth? This is very, very helpful, at least in my opinion, when you write up a chapter about data that you have coded. You can get an idea for an outline, and your segments are just 1 click away, which is a huge advantage versus like chatting with ChatGPT or whatever. Okay, these are the 4 types. Yeah, I'm 2 minutes over time. I will give you a last conclusion and then I'll deep dive into your questions. Sorry, this is the wrong presentation. I have 2 at the same time open. So you can have a look here, how you, these are the features that I all showed you, automatic summaries. And as a conclusion, just a warning, it's called AI assistant for a reason. An assistant is it's a helper, and it's never a good idea to expect an assistant to do all your work. And then maybe sell it off as your own work. Humans are in the driving seats. Our main thing that no one can take away for us is judging the relevancy. Is this what the AI has found and done helpful, useful for our research? Is this new? Is this relevant? Should I write a paper about this, or is this not good? To put it very politely. This we humans have to do, judge if the result is good. Also, the second very important thing is we are the ones who are accountable for the results that we produce, with or without AI support. We cannot say, oh, sorry, I have to retract that paper because AI assistant pulled out something that I believed. No, you are the boss. This is just a takeaway. And if you generate text, that's fantastic, like a summary that helps you, fantastic. But don't put it into your thesis and pretend that you have written it manually. This can get you into a lot of trouble without being a legal expert. But if you pretend you have written something and it was completely AI generated, even if it's based on your data, it can get you in quite some troubles. I see that there's already a question by Matthew waiting in the question and comment section. Very last thing, very short advertisement. I'm a freelancer. I am bookable for one-on-one consultations, for webinars, for workshops, all these kinds of things. Or if you just want to expand your network on LinkedIn, you can enter my name, click on my face. You will see the iconic yellow shirt. Then you know it's the right person. This screenshot is a little bit outdated. I would love to hear from you if you want to reach out or connect. So now let's go to the questions. Matthew Loxton asks, can I assume that the AI coding is using the code memo and the code name and the memo to form the reply? Yeah, sure. As I answer this first, yes, this is exactly what it looks at. The memo and the name. You can even trigger the AI coding without writing a memo. Then it will just take the name, but it will be very vague. It has to be a good guess. Is it looking at subcodes that already exist for a code, or is it just looking at the level you picked? In this case, it's just looking at the level you picked. It's just one code and its definition. It's like you write on a paper. I don't have a paper here, but you write on a paper, my dear research assistant, please code for me the code name. The code is described such as this. Please do it. And then at some point, your assistant comes back and says, I have coded this. You cannot say, like, please also consider all the subcodes. We'll maybe see that that such things may come in the future. Okay, Lilia Santiago. I'm sorry if I mess up names. Asks, how does MaxQDA compare to NVivo in terms of ease of use? I'm going to tell you a little anecdote. I was at a conference in Dublin 3 weeks ago, and I talked to a lot of people. And I talked to a lot of people who, after I showed them MaxQDA, said, oh my God, this is so much easier to use. So I would actually say that compared to NVivo, NVivo does a lot of interesting things too. It's another software for those who don't know it. But the ease of use is something that MaxQDA has really mastered. In my opinion, and I'm someone, I know quite some of the softwares out there, and I know which ones I love to teach, and I know which ones I'm like, oh my God, I have to teach this. MaxQDA is, just try the free trial version. It's a very clean interface, no unnecessary buttons. When I teach, I just noticed that I need half the explanation time with the MaxQDA and compared to NVivo or Atlas. But maybe it's my personal usability preference, but I have talked to many people. There are some differences in the functionalities that goes now beyond this webinar, but usability, I think MaxQDA does it very, very well. And an anonymer Zuschauer, anonymous attendee, asks another interesting question. If I had no verbatim interviews, and I want to use AI to reorganize the notes to create transcript out of the notes I made out of my interviews wherein participants refused to record it. Okay, I try to wrap my head around this. So the question is, an anonymous attendee doesn't have verbatim interviews, but taken notes because the participants did not agree to have it recorded. Refused to be recorded. So can AI assistants who do this feature that will eventually help in my coding? So the notes to create transcript out of the notes I made. Okay, there are 2 points. I would not use AI to turn your note taking from an interview into a full transcript, because it does only know your notes and it can put it in maybe a nicer form, but it will certainly invent things that are maybe not good. I would just work with your notes, and maybe if you go mentally through the interview again, you can maybe make things a little bit nicer or add something, but I would not turn or pretend this was a full transcript, because if people don't agree to have a transcript made, then there is no transcript and you work with a protocol or with your notes, that's it. But if you have your notes, if you have extensive note taking or maybe a rough protocol on what was said, AI coding can code any text, can be a protocol or notes. You can use AI assist to code your research memos if you import them as documents. No problem at all. Those are the 2 parts of the answer. Don't turn your notes into a transcript, but code your notes. Anything else? Yeah, it's so interesting, so many new possibilities. I totally have to agree. In March, there was the MaxQDA user conference in person, and Stefan Redeker, one of the lead developers behind this, said thematic coding is going to die, in the sense of that we do not need to do it anymore. Now I know what he meant. It doesn't mean that we don't have to do it at all anymore, but thematic descriptive coding, AI, at least implemented this way, is doing quite a nice job. And I show you one last thing, because I don't see an immediate question, to show you what I think would be a good idea to use this for. I have here the AI codes Burble. No, I don't want to delete them. I just take the AI codes Burble and my own codes. And I can, if you have been to my visual tool session, you will now remember, you can use the code line to compare my coding here on the top to the AI coding here on the bottom. We see here, this is the segment that I had and that the AI didn't. Here we have the overlap. And this is exactly what I would use AI coding now mostly for. Even if you are done with your thesis already and you want to hand it in, you can do some AI coding to check if you have missed some relevant segments. You can use this to basically get an AI intercoder, not really like doing the calculations roughly, but you can get a second coding on your document to compare yourself to. And I think that's something that is for qualitative researchers in the purest sense really relevant, because it helps us to challenge our own subjectivity. I noticed that AI usually overcodes, so codes more than I would code. But maybe this says more about me than about the AI, because I often have a very specific idea what I'm looking for. And the AI can help me to challenge my own subjectivity. I think that's a nice closing statement. We still have 4 more minutes left. Yeah, you also find the recording for this. You also find the handout for this. Last time, recommendation again. I am doing a lot of these AI webinars on a monthly basis in English. Here, MaxQDA training, free webinars. You will always find AI webinars with on the latest AI functions. It might just be worth, like here, 24th of September, there's another one supporting qualitative research with AI. I do most of or a lot of these webinars, at least in English, and just check in every month or two and you will see what's new, because I will definitely not hide the new things for you. And I would love to see you again as a regular attendee of these webinars. They are for free, just as the MAXDAYS are, and it's a great opportunity to stay up to date. Yeah, September 26th, coding completed. What now? Drop in if you like. It's 1 hour. It's not 30 minutes or 45, so I have a bit more time to talk, to go a bit more depth. And usually there are fewer attendees, so we can take more time for your questions too. With that, I would say thank you for the nice word, Vince. Outstanding session. I have to admit, I have a little bit sort of a Stockholm syndrome with MaxQDA, that I always say people don't like me, people like MaxQDA, but I think it's a nice match. Thank you so much for joining in. I will move over to the goodbye session. I think it just takes 5 minutes by Tamara and Leo, because I want to say hi and thank you to them, at least in the chat. I hope you had a great MaxDays, and don't forget, you can rewatch all the sessions, especially the ones that you missed or that run in parallel to this session. I know I missed a great session on grounded theory by Karen. I know I missed a great session on thematic analysis by Christina Silver. I can have a look at the recordings. So do you. Have a look around. I think this is almost a free MaxQDA online course now with almost 40 sessions for free. Use it. Use it to your best advantage. And if you have any questions left over, come back to a webinar or write to the nice people behind MaxQDA. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here also at this late-ish time, at least in the old world. Have a good night and yeah, a great day wherever you are.